Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today we're going to be talking about the Division's 1.1 update named Incursion. Now this one is a free update. It comes with one new mission and a whole bunch of changes. First thing I want to talk about is gold items. Are you rank 30? Have you had trouble finding enough gold items? Have you just been trying to craft them and get that gold gear? Well, they've changed up a lot of how that works now. First of all, every named bad guy in the Dark Zone will drop gold gear. Also, if you play challenging missions and you killed the named bad guy at the end, they will drop 3 or 4 gold items. And yes, they're technically called high-end gear, but there's also been some new gear sets added to the game. These look green, although not the original green. They're more like a teal color. And these gear sets, if you're familiar with other MMORPG style games, if you combine multiple items from the same set, they will give you additional bonuses. The gear itself is generally pretty good as well. I definitely like the addition of these gear sets, as it looks like it's going to add a bit more strategy and customization to the way that people can design their characters, because as it stands right now, it seems everybody's just trying to build a crit build right now with SMGs, and as cool as that can be, it's kind of annoying when everybody's doing it. So hopefully this will maybe add a little bit more diversity to how people are building out their characters. Now there's 4 different gear sets. The Nomad gear set can be acquired in the Dark Zone. You can actually buy 2 items of the gear right off the bat if you go to Dark Zone 6, and then the rest of it drops off of baddies in the Dark Zone, or you can get it from the new supply drop system, which is a cool addition to the Dark Zone. Basically, I think it might be once an hour or once every half hour, there's an event where a plane flies overhead and supply drops are dropped in around the map. The first people to get to these supply drops, kill the group of elite bad guys around it, and then loot the crate will get items that do not have to be extracted from the Dark Zone. So you would think they would be highly valuable, except that they seem to only drop purples. They might drop higher stuff than that, but I've only seen purples from these crates, which is kind of a letdown considering how easy it is to get gold items now. It's a great addition to the Dark Zone. It just needs to be balanced a little bit, and I think this was designed without realizing how easy it was going to be to farm golds since the latest patch. Now the other major balance change to gear grinding and finding gear is the idea that the devs want you to be able to find more golds rather than crafting the golds. Before this patch, people were crafting and crafting away, re-rolling the same weapons over and over and over again to get the best stats possible, and this was a good way to get gear, but it was very grindy and very boring, and the devs have shifted it now so that the best way to get gear is basically kill bad guys and see what they drop, and sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be bad. If it's bad, you can break it down and use those supplies to try and craft more gear. It's just going to take you a lot longer to craft the gear, so it shouldn't be your number one goal anymore, or if it is, it's just going to take a lot longer to craft things. It is still a sure way to get items through crafting. It's just one of those things where you're probably going to get something pretty good before you get enough resources to craft the item that you want. The Dark Zone vendors also have a better assortment of gear and gear that you can acquire at different Dark Zone levels. So now if you hit Dark Zone rank 40, there's a whole bunch of gear available to you. If you hit Dark Zone rank 25, there's a bunch of gear available, and some of it will be gold and pretty good gear. So you don't just have to hit like Dark Zone rank 50. There is some now that's available at Dark Zone rank 90, some really high-end stuff, some very uber legendary style weapons. These are guns that can be acquired through playing the new Incursion mission, or you can craft it should you get enough Dark Zone and Phoenix credits and all that stuff. So they're providing you with multiple ways to acquire the same gear if you want to grind it out in the Dark Zone, or you want to grind it out through the Incursion missions. Now the Incursion mission itself, Falcon lost the first one anyway. There's going to be more. Hopefully they don't all follow the same pattern. This one is basically just a wave mission. You go into this main room, there's an APC, there's a couple of turrets, and then they just hit you with wave upon wave of baddies. There's 15 waves in total. It's kind of a letdown in terms of the production value of this mission. Sure, it is free new content, but if anybody was expecting some sort of high-level raid that you might get from Destiny, where there's just a lot more fleshed out, a lot more to it, then it's just simply going to be one room with kind of endless waves of baddies. So that would be a major letdown if you're expecting something more than that. You can get good gear from this, and it does require a lot of strategy and good teamwork, but the repetitive nature of it is really kind of a letdown in my opinion. One cool thing that's been added to the game is the ability to trade gear. If you're in a party with somebody and you pick up a good gun that they want and you don't need it, you can give it to them once you're in a safe zone. you can drop it on the ground and they can pick it up. You have 2 hours from picking up that item to trade it to your friend, however, and you can't give it to anyone who wasn't in your party. I think this is a good gear trading system, and because of the time limit and the party requirements, it prevents any sort of macro economies from forming around gear trading or websites popping up selling gear. So it's just a good overall idea. Now, they also added daily and weekly assignments to the game, which I think any modern MMO really needs to keep things interesting. So a good welcome addition to the game. Now, they've also added a weird thing to the game called gear score, where all of your gear has this arbitrary number associated next to it that's supposed to identify how good that piece of gear is in relation to other pieces of gear. And then based on all your gear combined together, it gives your player a gear rating. And that's supposed to let other players know how good you are in relation to them or how powerful you are. Unfortunately, it's very, very misleading. I've seen players with low gear scores just absolutely tearing it up, and players with high gear score just not having much direction with their character build and not being anywhere near as effective as you might be led to believe based on their gear score. So it's an interesting concept, but at the moment it is not implemented properly. Now, overall, this 1.1 patch is a great upgrade. It adds a lot of good balance and features to the game. It comes with plenty of bug fixes. Falcon Lost is at least new free content, even though it is just way too grindy for me personally. And that is one aspect of the game that I think has kind of solidified itself. It is a grind fest. I mean, people who like to go out there and grind for gear and just do the same routes over and over again will probably love this game a lot because it's really perfected that style of gaming. The only thing that kind of makes me wonder is like, why are we grinding for this gear? At least when I played Destiny and was going through the raids and stuff to get good gear, I knew I could take that gear directly into the PvP arena. There were certain items in Destiny that would like allow your character to carry 2 grenades instead of 1, and that was incredibly helpful in PvP. But in Division, you just have the Dark Zone, and unfortunately the PvP there is really more of just a gank fest. There's never really stand-up fair fights in the Dark Zone, and frankly it's come down to a really silly system where everybody just kind of pops their ultimate abilities, which gives them crazy damage resistance, and you just do it one after the other until one guy runs out of his ultimates first, and then you just kill that guy. It's a really terribly balanced PvP system right now. I don't like it at all. And so I guess it just feels weird to me that people are grinding so hard to get all this good gear and to make their players as best as possible for what exactly? Falcon Lost is a really grindy, intensive mission that's not that much fun to play. I feel like if Division had a good PvP aspect to it, then it would make sense for me to want to try and get better gear so I could be better in PvP, but without that element there, I don't exactly understand what the ultimate endgame goal is. Why do I want my character to be better? So I can farm more efficiently? Apparently that seems to be the only reason at this point. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, the 1.1 update is good. It only adds good things to the game. If you were expecting some really advanced level mission with Falcon Lost, some sort of amazing raid style mission that was going to be super elaborate and hard, well, you're going to be let down, unfortunately. And if you're hoping for some sort of PvP overhaul that was going to make the game really fun and engaging in the PvP world and give you a reason to grind for that gear, then you might also be let down. Now, granted, Ubisoft didn't actually promise any of these changes, but personally, I was hoping that Division would evolve into something a little bit more interesting endgame wise, rather than just these routes, these grindfest routes where you just kill these named bad guys over and over again, occasionally get ganked by other players in the Dark Zone and then gank them back because it's just a weird, unfair system. Then you might be let down. I think I would be happy with either super elaborate raids that were more interesting, some heavier story-based content with big name characters and changing scenery and boss fights that are dynamic and interesting and not just waves of bad guys coming at you. I think that would be very cool. I would also have been very happy with a dedicated PvP game mode where you go into it and you know you're fighting other players from the start, as opposed to sort of the ganky nature of the Dark Zone right now, which is just never a fair stand-up fight. So I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit too needy with this. Overall, again, the 1.1 patch is good in terms of it improves lots of things and it only improves upon the current systems that are in the game. But I think I want a little bit more from the Division before I start coming back to playing it regularly. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a good overview of the 1.1 patch. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.